Hey, how's it going, guys? Today we're going to be working on the 25-foot center console part 2 video. We're going to be digging into this engine. We haven't messed with it yet, so we're going to be compression testing it. We're going to take a look at the spark plugs. We're going to change the impeller, change the foot oil, just do a once over on it and really get a good look at it. If you want to come inside, I got a list of everything we're going to do today. We're going to do the spark plug inspection, compression check, drain the oil, impeller change, fill the oil back up. Then we're going to start the engine, see how she runs. I do want to do the compression check first before we do that, just to make sure we're not going to hurt anything in case we have to do a rebuild. The power steering system on this thing, it's got a hydraulic system, and the system that's on this boat is really old and it's just kind of obsolete. So I went ahead and ordered new parts for that. We're going to simplify it, pull some of these older pumps out, put a new cylinder on it. We're going to put an anode on this boat. For some reason it doesn't have an anode when I got it, so we're going to slap an anode on it. And the trim relays, I've been having some trouble out of getting the engine to trim up and down when we were moving it. I threw a battery in it, and I think the relays, I'm having some issues, or the solenoids. So I got some new relays. We're going to slap those in, see if that fixes it. All right, let's get to it. Hey guys, we just pulled the engine cover off. We're about to pull the spark plugs and do a compression check on this engine. And when we pulled the hood off, we noticed this engine is extremely clean. I mean, you could eat off of it. If you want to come take a look, there's no way this engine has very many hours at all. It looks brand new. I have never seen a two-stroke this clean, especially this year. If you want to come to this side, I mean, I really hate to harp on it, but this thing is clean. So I really just wanted to point that out and show how clean it is before we get started. So hopefully the compression check comes out great, because this thing looks almost new. All right, guys, we're compression checking these last two cylinders. We've already done the first four and they're dead even, so we're just going to do these last two. Go ahead and crank it over. All right. That one's good too. So as we suspected, I really think this engine's low hours. All these cylinders are dead even. So everything's looking great right now. We're gonna keep going down our list. All right, guys, we're draining the fluid right now because we're gonna change the gear oil and change the impeller inside this housing. So there's a vent plug right here. You're gonna remove that first, and then you got a drain plug down here. After all this drains, then you remove the bolts here, two here, and one here. Drop the housing, and that gives you access to the impeller. So there's your housing. This one looks to be in pretty good shape, so will look good there. A lot of time they'll crack around these seams here, so you just want to give it a good visual inspection. This one looks great, no corrosion. All right, so again, this is extremely important. This is a 3-gasket system. It's a sandwich gasket. So you're going to pull this off, and what you're going to do with these gaskets is each gasket is different. So you're going to lay them down on the ground, flip it over, and you're going to lay them down exactly how they came off, in the same order. That's your best bet always. Pull the impeller off. So this impeller is shot. You see they get hard and the fins are stuck. This is what it's supposed to look like. Nice and pliable. This one's rock hard and bent. It's not going to pump a lot of water that way. I'm glad we went ahead to go ahead and change that. There's a dowel pin right here. We're going to pull that out. Then you can pull the next layer of gasket off. Lay it down, upside down, exactly how it came off. And then one more layer of gasket after that. It doesn't really matter if you tear these because the kit comes with new gaskets, but you just want to make sure you put them back exactly how they go. I think we're going to get lucky. This one's going to come off in one piece, so we don't have to do a lot of scraping and cleaning the surfaces. And there you have it. Everything looks good and clean in here. All right, a little tip here, when you're putting the housing back together, you just want to put a little bit of grease inside here, because when you start this thing, it's not going to have any water in it yet, and you don't want to tear up your brand new impeller. So it's always a good idea to just put just a little bit of grease in there, so that way when you start it up for the first time, you're not going to rub the brand new impeller on a dry surface and tear it up. All right, now we have our lower unit reinstalled with the fresh impeller inside. You're going to want to fill it back up with gear oil. First thing you'll do is pull out the vent plug and then the drain plug. You're going to fill this with gear lube from the bottom up, so that way you know it's all the way full. So here we have the trim solenoids that are going bad. We have the new ones. It's kind of convenient that it happened right now, so I can show you. There we go. We are going to replace those later in this video, but you're going to fill this from the bottom up, and you're going to fill it until it runs out the top vent plug. Once it's gotten out of the top hole, you're going to put the vent plug back in and tighten it up. So that way, once you go to put the drain plug back in the bottom, it uses suction. You have a better chance of getting the plug in without losing a lot of fluid. So you're going to have your plug ready when you pull this one out. And then you're going to put the plug in as quickly as you can. It's all right to lose a little bit in there. I had pumped some more in there so it's pressurized. Tighten it up. Once it's tightened up, you're good to go. So we've been having some issues with the up and down on the trim relays here. So if it goes up, no problem, and we've been having some issues. You can see the relay is starting to go bad. So we're going to go ahead and change that out. We're going to go ahead and change them both, actually, just so to play it safe. So it takes an 8mm wrench right here, and all you're going to do is pull this bolt out, holding the relay in. There'll be a plug on the bottom side that you have to replace. All right, now we have the old relay out. All you're going to do, you're going to look down in here. You're going to clip it on to the plug. And wait for a snap sound. There it is. And then you're going to put the bolt back in. Tighten it down and you should be good. Moment of truth. Perfect. All right, the last thing we're going to do before we start this engine up for the first time is we're going to install a new anode. All you're going to do is place the new anode through the bottom here. Bolt goes through the top. 13 in case you're wondering. When you get it hand tight, once you have it tight, you're good to go. If you want to take a look here, the anode, in case you don't know, that just prevents corrosion. It attracts all the corrosion here instead of letting the rest of the outboard corrode. All right, let's get the engine fired up. All right, guys, we're about to try and crank this engine for the first time ever. We did do a compression check on it, and it is perfect across the board. The spark plugs look great, and we just put a new water impeller inside. I do not have the gas tank hooked up yet, so I've just got it in a jug here, but we're gonna see if it cranks up. Fingers crossed. First crank ever. Pump the bulb a little more. This thing's been sitting for about 2 years. We don't have any water coming out of the port yet, but these muffs are a little old. All right, guys, the engine was cutting off on us a good bit when we first got it to crank, but I think it's just because it's been sitting for about 2 years. Maybe there's some trash in the carbs, a little gummed up. We got some fresh gas running through it, and she's running much better now. So let's show you. I'll start up. All right, guys, she sounds really healthy. I think this just reinforces the fact I think this thing's got really low hours. The engine's super clean, so we're pretty happy with it. All right, guys, we got a lot done today. First thing we did was do the spark plug inspection. They look great. We did the compression check. The compression check came out awesome. They were dead even across the board. I think the biggest variance was 2 PSI. So the engine looks great. I really think it's got low hours. We drained the gear oil, we changed the water impeller, filled the gear oil back up, cranked the engine. Really happy with that. It wanted to cut off a little bit right when it first started, but that's expected. It's been sitting for about 2 years. I think it's got some trash in it. We ran it for a minute with some fresh gas, and it starts right up and idles perfectly. So the power steering, we're still waiting on parts for that, but we're going to completely revamp the system. We're going to change it out to a newer style steering setup. So we're waiting on the parts for that. I think it's going to be a later video. We installed a new anode on it and the trim relays. We went ahead and put both trim relays on it. We were only having issues with the down relay, but they're pretty cheap, so we just went ahead and did them both. We were having issues with it going up and then not wanting to come back down. So we changed them out. Works perfectly now. And I think that's it for this video, but we'll see you next time.